To our reporter, Madeline Montgomery, who's been following a story we've been covering all day, an officer-involved shooting at a MARTA station.
And now the big concern here is safety concerns for anyone who really takes MARTA, public transportation, across the metro. Let's go out to Atlanta News First reporter Madeline Montgomery. Madeline.
MARTA police say they do a number of things to keep their passengers safe. They have emergency phones at their stations. They have emergency buttons on their trains. Both dispatch officers immediately to people, and they have an app. But is that enough? We took a look at their crime statistics over the last 5 years. When your daily commute becomes a crime scene.
It doesn't surprise me, but I do think it's senseless. And I think that we should be able to ride on public transportation without the harm or the threat of being harmed.
2 people stabbed at MARTA's 5 Points station. And when an officer came to intervene, police say he was cut on the hand.
At that point, the officer fired 2 rounds, striking the individual in the leg and in the stomach.
Just 2 weeks ago at the same station, a man was stabbed and killed on the train platform.
It makes me second guess using MARTA for transportation.
At the time, MARTA police reassured passengers they prioritized safety.
We have over 250 officers and protective specialists combined that are patrolling the stations, the train, and the buses. Like, for example, today we had officers on north and southbound trains doing what we call train patrol.
We looked into the numbers. The total number of criminal offenses way down in the last 5 years from 2018 to 2023. The number of aggravated assaults has decreased significantly, while the number of homicides is up slightly, having wavered from no homicides to 2 homicides over the last 5 years, up to 5 homicides in 2023.
And we take pride in the safety of our customers and employees.
I reached out to Byron Amos. He's the city councilman in charge of the transportation committee, and he says that they work tirelessly to make sure that public transportation is safe, and he says that they do partner with MARTA and try to share resources between the Atlanta Police Department and the MARTA Police Department, sharing surveillance video, and he says that it is always a collaborative effort to keep people safe, and they always are working on ideas on how to make things safer if people are riding MARTA. For now, reporting live in downtown Atlanta, I'm Madeline Montgomery, Atlanta News First.
Madeline, thank you. Well, tonight